go, sir.
Take your hand off of me.
Now.
Okay.
Hey, God!
Here, stop it! Who are you?
I don't know.
Now I know a lot of you are hating on Deku just because of what he did in the last chapter, and when I read the chapter first I thought the same. But then when I focused on the chapter a bit more and read it a couple of times, I realized the difference that Deku had and the foreshadowing that happened that a lot of you haven't paid attention to, and a lot of you thought that Deku was turning into a villain or a vigilante or something like this, but none of those are actually true. What's actually going on with Deku is a breakdown, and that will explain everything. But first, I want to remind you this is a spoiler video, so if you aren't caught up with the manga, proceed with your own caution, you have been warned. And if you enjoy my content, feel free to thumbs up this video, which really helps a lot. So, without further ado, let's get on. So what I want to talk about today is not just the theories, it's also All For One's plan, because a lot of you aren't paying attention to those details, which are really important to this chapter. So first, All For One and the League are hiding and waiting because first, they want to extend their manpower, they want to extend the army that they have. We realize each chapter that a lot of the pro heroes are quitting and they are leaking data. What's even more interesting that some of those heroes are also turning into villains, or vigilantes let's say, which also make it more interesting because that's what All For One wants. He wants to break down every single hero and police, and he wants to break down the hero society. He wants to let them suffer as much as he had suffered. If you remember in All Might times and how much he had feared All Might, he wanted to do the same. He wanted to tell him like, you saw how much fear you gave me. Now it's my time to give you the fear that you gave me. So it's interesting to see those differences in chapter. And what I'm about to say right now is that he's also waiting for the Deku, the #1 hero that we all are wanting to see, and we all think he's going to be the best hero of all time, but we have to see, wait and see I guess. He's waiting for the right moment. Look at the steps of how Deku become like this. First, I don't want to go way too back, but just let's take about 10 chapters ago. We saw him trying to protect everything dear to him, but he failed because he wasn't strong enough. And when he fought against Lady Nagant, he couldn't also save her, even though he had unlocked like all the quirks. We also saw that he couldn't prevent even Lady Nagant from exploding. So all of that, getting on top of his back, making the burden more heavier and heavier, the same that happened with All Might. All Might saw the burden that Deku is having right now, and that's even like more interesting. He's seeing the parallels that he couldn't prevent, and he's trying to like prevent it from Deku, but he can't. What's also even more interesting, he know that that a villain attacked All Might, but All Might like saved himself because he's intimidating, you know. So he also couldn't prevent his master from like getting something happen to him. So all of that led him to do one thing. He wanted to separate himself from everyone so that he can protect everyone. You get what I mean, right? So like look at this. He's trying to separate everyone from himself, and he's trying to become alone. Similar to our society, there's a lot of our people in the society that are trying to separate themselves from everyone and trying to be alone all the time, just because they don't want anyone to get hurt, they don't want to get interacted with people, and that makes them weaker. A lot of us thinks that if we act tough, or if we like, you know, don't be happy, or we don't smile enough, a lot of you guys think that we are going to be more stronger, but the opposite is like more even true. But just because right now Deku is separating himself from everyone, meaning that he's actually getting weaker, like not in physical power, like we already know he's strong, but in his willpower. Another cool thing that I want to point out is that when Deku said, I can get on par with you, All Might, at 100%, that doesn't mean that Deku can use 100% of One For All. That's not the case. It's because he unlocked multiple quirks, he can use them right now, and combining like all of them, he can be on par with All Might. Like he have 40% of like freely of One For All, he have fusion, and to 100%, he have Black Whip, he have like multiple quirks, so combining all of them, making him on par with All Might, like that's what he think. So that's like also explained. Another thing that we want to point out is that Deku becoming like Stain, but more caring, I guess. Like, let's take a difference between Stain and Deku. First, Stain is actually wanting to make all the false heroes goes away, and Deku wants to protect everyone by separating himself from everyone. All for One is waiting for the right moment to strike where Deku's willpower is done. You know what I mean? Because he couldn't steal it because Deku's willpower was really strong. So he wants to steal one for all when Deku's will is really weak. Like, let's take a look at the last chapter. He separated himself first from everyone, and then he separated himself from the only one, the only master that actually cared about, and he's actually like caring about as well, All Might. When he did that, that's what All for One exactly wanted. That's also pointing out that something might happen to All Might. I really wish not, but that's also might happen. So what's going to happen next in the next chapter is that a talk between All Might and Stain will occur. And how is that? Well, Stain will actually explain how Deku's ideals and what Deku actually is trying to do. All Might will fully understand that, and they will go together and team up together. I can't wait to see that, by the way, to try and save Deku before the time is over. We also want to point out that now I know that All for One is sending assassins one after another to kidnap Deku or kill Deku. But what he's actually wanting to do, he just wants to raise the danger sense on Deku. He wants to show him see, you can't protect anyone. You have to separate yourself from everyone. I know I'm talking about this a lot, but I actually want you to understand what does this mean. That means that All for One is actually the smartest, or one of the smartest character in this series. How is the next thing is going to happen? I imagine that if All Might or the Pro Heroes can't let Deku snap out of reality, the Class 1A student will make him snap out of reality. We're gonna see the news spreading around, it's already spreading, but it's going to spread even more for the UA students and all the other students around the Japan, and see what Deku has become. So they want to separate him from this ideal, and they will save him no matter the cost. I imagine in the next chapters, or the next chapter maybe, that All for One is going to strike when the whole medium and everything is done for. He's gonna strike and he's going to corner Deku. And he will probably, as I predicted in 4 months ago, that All for One's plan might actually succeed. He might steal one for all, and then Deku will be quirkless and have to fight quirkless. So that would be also interesting to see, kind of like the Vigilante manga. But let's say they corner him, Deku gets beaten, he can't protect everyone. All for One will start complaining about that. He'll tell him, you couldn't protect everyone, you couldn't protect your master, you couldn't protect anyone. So Deku will even have more burden on his shoulders, and then maybe Class 1A or the Pro Heroes will arrive, and it will be a cool all-out battle kind of thing. But it's always cool to see how this is going to happen. So yeah, I imagine this chapter is all about, the next chapter is all it's going to be about that. And if you have any other theories, feel free to talk about them. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have been the Manga Viewer, and I will see you all next time.